It's coming up on 7/16. Kind of a cloudy day out there. Still going to be a good day. I want to introduce John Burris, Representative, State of Arkansas, now Senate candidate, seat 17? 17.
Yeah.
Tried to keep track of all of it. So how's John?
I'm very well.
How was your drive this morning?
Drive was good. I had a Frisco melt waiting for me when I got here. Coffee's warm. No complaints.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Well, you're running for Senate. Let me get these audio levels adjusted a little bit better. There we go. Running for Senate 17. So who is John Burris? I'm just going to back off the mic and let you talk. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you grew up, where you grew up, and what life is like for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and it's good to be here. I've been in the House for almost 6 years now. Was elected in 2008. We'll talk a lot about that, but as far as who I am and where I come from, grew up in Boone County. If you have ties, I kind of have ties all across the district. If y'all are familiar with, the Pyatt Post Office, that's where
Sure.
my dad's worked for about 20 years, and then that little white brick church about 2 miles east of the junction there at 62 and 65 before you come into Bellefonte. It's called Union Missionary Baptist.
Oh, yeah.
He's been the pastor there for quite a number of years. There's a little parsonage there by the side. That's kind of where I grew up starting
Wow,
out.
cool.
But we eventually moved into town off Cottonwood Road, and I went to school at Bergman High School and then Arkansas Tech University. I worked as a manager at Wendy's, both in high school and college, actually, to help pay for my college. And really, in high school and college is where I began to get active in politics. I was active in the Teenage Republicans in Bergman and then on through college. I was state chairman of the College Republicans at one point, and that kind of got me introduced to politics and then also campaign. So throughout college and between work at Wendy's and classes, I also worked on a lot of campaigns. Ended up serving as campaign manager for a guy named Gunnar DeLay.
I remember that.
Yeah, he ran for Attorney General in 2006.
Yeah.
I worked on his campaign as well as a lot of others, a lot of local races, and worked for a real estate development company for a little bit, and then just decided to run for state rep myself in 2008 when that seat came open. So that's a quick summary of kind of where I've come from and what I've done.
Well, now you said you went to Bergman. Was it like growing up in Harrison but going to Bergman?
I loved it. I mean, Bergman's a great school, and that's nothing.
Is there any rivalry?
Minor. I think when you're
Not like Harrison and Mountain Home.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in high school, that stuff's so far out of your mind. I mean, I worked with guys from Harrison and such. And Valley Springs was our big rival.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bergman. We played schools like Cotter and Flippin, Yellville. I mean, those were the schools we played. I played baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So the Goblin Bomber rivalry is just not something that's entrenched in me. I don't know if I've been to a Harrison football game. I probably shouldn't say that because that's my district. But as far as who I am and where I came from, I'm very proud of Bergman. It's a great school, great community, and they do a great job.
Oh, the Harrison Mountain Home rivalry.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I tell people I'm from Harrison, that's kind of what they say, and then I back up. So, I'm actually from Bergman, and that's kind of where I call home.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what was it like growing up in Harrison? Friendly town?
Oh, yeah. I mean, phenomenal town. As I said, we were always a little bit more rural inclined. My parents aren't necessarily politically active. As I said, my dad's a preacher, then worked in Pyatt there. I had a job since I was I used to mow just about every yard in Pyatt, probably from about the age of 12 through high school. I thought it was a big deal when I got to go to Pyatt and drive around, before I had a license and, driving around mowing yards. I had quite a little business going there. When you get $20 in cash, from every yard you mow, and, I could go to Pyatt for a day and leave with $200 in my pocket. It was a big deal then. So, that was the kind of stuff I did, growing up. And, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I said, just the whole region, not just Bergman specifically or Pyatt or anywhere else. It's just a great area to grow up, to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Well, now in the professional life as a politician, whether it's state or local or federal, what in the last 5-6 years has just shocked your socks off?
Oh, wow. Good or bad?
Either way.
I'm surprised by how fast the Republicans have been able to win the majority status in the legislature. And that was something that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. And I know we'll talk some about this, but as I was the House Republican leader for 2.5 years. When I was elected to that, we had 28 in the House out of 100. And when I left that position, we had 46. But I was fortunate enough to serve as the campaign chairman for the caucus. And the next year, when we elected 51 and won the majority, how fast that happened, and frankly, the things we were able to accomplish, I think, is something that we can be proud of, and it surprises even me when I look back and think about where I started as a teenage Republican. In days when we weren't even fielding. In 2008, we didn't even have a candidate against Mark Pryor.
Wow.
He was unopposed.
Yeah, unopposed.
And here we are today. That should make all of us happy.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for a minute. Tom Cotton, I think he's an outstanding candidate. You've worked directly with him, and well, you can see my Tom Cotton sticker on the back of my vehicle.
Good.
I don't know, guys. I've had my fill with Pryor.
Yeah.
Had my fill with Pryor. Your thoughts on that?
I think you agree with most Arkansans. Most Arkansans agree with you. Tom is a phenomenal person, phenomenal candidate. I did work for him. I'm on a leave at this point to do this, my own race for state senate. But there's just not a more important race in the country, and certainly in the state, than beating Mark Pryor. The Republicans need to win 5 seats to win back the Senate. If we don't win this one, then we just don't even have a chance nationally to unseat Harry Reid and take control of the Senate and actually pass some legislation and put it on Barack Obama's desk. So this race is the most important. Tom is the best possible candidate we could have.
Sure.
And I was excited to be a part of it, and I hope to go back and continue that work.
I'm thinking back. Were we in Washington, D.C. together? Or
We
was
were.
that Minneapolis?
No, it was D.C.
Was it D.C.?
Yeah, three or 4 years ago, maybe.
Now, did you get to talk to Dinesh D'Souza? Did you come into Radio Row because Dinesh was there?
Was he the guy from Texarkana?
No, he was the guy that did the movie No. Obama's America 2016.
No, I did not. You were co-hosting with the guy from Texarkana at the time.
Yeah.
That's who I talked with you and him, but I did not talk to the gentleman you're referencing.
The things that Dinesh D'Souza told us probably was what I'd qualified to shock my socks off. What's behind the scenes with President Obama. And people have asked me, well, do you respect the office of the president? I said, definitely. And when we were in D.C. together, I think that question came up. I think if the president entered the room, everybody would stand and show their respect. You don't have to hate. And I don't, people say, oh, I hate that president. No, I don't hate the president. I'm going to respect the man that holds the office. I can disagree with his policies, but there's no hate there at all.
Right. No, that's right. And I mean, it on a much smaller scale, you see the same thing in Little Rock. There's so much reverence and tradition and things of that nature. It sounds so much like a cliche, but you show up and you just ask why we can't do something, and it's we've not done it that way before, or just these 3 people will be against it. And my response was always, well, okay, those 3 people should be against it, but what about everybody else? It's just so much of an atmosphere of where disagreement is just kind of not necessarily encouraged, because friendships or relationships, they should always come first in their minds in a cozy place like Little Rock in the state capitol. But that's just not the case for me, and that's why I think I was usually in the middle of fights, usually leading the fights to challenge the way that things were happening.
I can remember the days of Watergate and all those hearings and seeing it on TV, and it just seems like the news was barraged every day with Watergate this and Watergate that, just to the point where I was sick of it. And it seems like I remember what we'd call the mood of the country. I remember when President Kennedy was assassinated. I remember the mood of the country. And I remember the mood of the country during Watergate, and then the changes that started taking place from 1974 through 1980 when Reagan was elected. And you can kind of see a feverish pitch in the 70s, the early 70s, moving on in, and it seemed like we breathed a sigh of relief when Ronald Reagan was elected. Now I'm getting that same vibe now that there's so much unrest. You've got religious bickering. You've got atheist bickering. You've got Muslims up there. You've got, we can't do this because we might upset this group. We've got gun control being looked at. We've got all kinds of stuff. And there's just no unity.
No, there's not. And frankly, I think that's the way that the Democrats have intended it. I mean, my opinion on national politics, and you'll see it exactly in this race for Senate, Harry Reid and Barack Obama have made a living and have promoted themselves into the positions of power that they have by running campaigns of personal destruction and division and disunity. That's the way they survive. And so, when you watch a Republican running for U.S. Senate, their campaigns are about ideas and themes and policy. when you watch a Democrat running for Senate, it's, well, you hate women, or you hate this group, or you don't want to give people a raise through a minimum wage mandate increase, or whatever the case may be. We have leaders in our country who divide, and that's why we're divided. And until that changes, then it won't change, but it needs to. We need leaders who can step up and actually lead through unity, not division, and bring out the best in people, not the worst.
That's good.
And I think Tom is the guy that can do that. I think Mitt Romney could have done that. I think our next presidential candidate can do that also.
Who in the back of your mind, who you think is going to be that nominee?
I like all the dark horses, you know.
You think Mitch Daniel would run out of...
Well, it's funny. That was actually the one I was going to use.
Yeah.
Is he at Purdue now? Is that right?
I think so.
He was governor of Indiana. I think he's the president at Purdue now. And to me, he's the type of guy he's a serious guy, accomplished private sector and public sector, and I think we need people like that. I mean, I want people who can govern and actually get the job done, not just throw out good lines or clever lines or fire up a crowd. Even though that's important, I want somebody who can actually do the job and is serious about it. I think Mitch Daniels is a good example of somebody like that.
What about Ken Cuccinelli?
I've always liked Kenny. I was a delegate to the Republican National Convention in 12 for Romney in Tampa, and I met Mr. Cuccinelli at the time. Yeah, I've always been a supporter. I think you saw Terry McAuliffe run a race against him in Virginia, similar to what I was just talking about with the type of race.
We
that
got
Harry
the
Reid
interview
runs.
when we were in D.C. Ken Cuccinelli got to talk with us.
Yeah,
I was very impressed.
Oh, I mean, they just he was a very accomplished Attorney General of Virginia, and then we ran for governor. McAuliffe and his folks just absolutely destroyed him on a personal level. And that's the type of campaigns they run. And I think Ken would be a great candidate. I mean, there really is a deep and breadth of candidates out there that I think could get the job done.
Do you think they're just start running short on time? But do you think they're apprehensive to put their families through something like that?
No doubt about it. I mean,
that's what Mitch Daniels said.
If I had a family, I'd be hesitant to put them through this race. I mean, just even something as small as state senate, it's just a very and nobody likes to come across as a whiner, and I'm not. But it is public service, and you do have to it is a commitment on part of everybody, and I think that has to be a huge part of the decision.
Going to continue the second half of the show with John Burris. Right now we got the news coming up, so stick around. I got to get more coffee anyway. We'll be right back. 7:35. Continue our discussion with John Burris, now candidate for seat 17. I'm going to have to write that down so I can keep it straight. Anyway, let me close this. I'm trying to get out of looking at some stuff on the internet, looking at a bio sheet. Anyway, now let's get to the hard parts. Let's dispel the rumors. Okay. Where do you live?
I live in Harrison.
What about, like I say, we're going to dispel the rumors.
Yeah.
You received a gift as a visitor's guide to Harrison, and I know it was a gag gift, but what were they trying to tell you?
I was wondering where all that started. Now, Representative Branscombe and Vines, the last day they always go down and kind of roast the third-termers. Mm-hmm. So Representative Branscombe, good friend of mine from Marshall, gave me a visitor's guide to Harrison. And that it's very well known, really how much time I spend traveling across the state, starting really as House Republican leader, recruiting. We had 72 candidates file for the House of Representatives. They don't just file themselves. We did a lot of traveling to meet with them and attended rallies in support of their campaigns. I worked for Jim Keat. When I say work, I mean volunteered for no pay in his race in 2010 for governor, and then working for Tom in his race for U.S. Senate. All of my jobs have kind of been outside the district and really statewide. I own a home in Harrison, and I go there as often as I can, which is still often enough to be reelected 3 times, twice unopposed, and do a lot of things for the community. But I do spend a lot of time traveling across the state, trying to help elect Republicans to office. And frankly, I mean, I've never been shied away from that, because I think it's why I ran for office, why I was elected. I think people want you to be engaged. I would always tell folks in Harrison, hey, you didn't elect me to sit down here and talk to you the next day. We got to go to Little Rock. We got to get to work. We have to elect other Republicans. I haven't sat on my hands for 6 years, and that's something I'm proud of.
Rumor number 2, I've heard through the grapevine that you're looking to buy a house in Little Rock.
Oh. Well, I mean, all that's personal stuff that I don't really think is relevant. I mean, I've always bought and remodeled houses. I've remodeled one actually in high school. The house I own in Harrison now was a fixer-upper that I bought, did a lot of work in. Yeah, I like doing that. It's something.
Is that your hobby?
Yeah, I've actually applied. I've actually enrolled in real estate class.
Really?
It's something that I want to do long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love